I'm taking these threads that somebody spent a lifetime assembling, and then I take them and I put them back out there. And each one of those records starts a new journey for these young people that come in and they're just getting into record collecting.
You talked before about some of the labels that you like and that you stock in the store. Can we talk about some of those? I know craft recordings. What are some of the other kind of limited labels that you stock in the store?
Well, stuff I like would be like Speaker's Corner. I mean, I stock the Analog Productions stuff. They've got a cool Verve series right now that I really like. The Tone Poets, again, anything that comes out on the Blue Note label, the classic series Blue Notes. But yeah, and a lot of times I'll find some really interesting import pressings that I get in, So smaller label stuff, I would say, predominantly.
Smaller label stuff that they do a really, really great job with their masters, like Craft Recordings and Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, some of the Grateful Dead reissues been really cool lately. There's certain groups and certain labels that are really doing a great job putting out very limited but cool stuff.
So the deep grooves and the standard grooves, we kind of touched on it a little bit. There's definitely a difference. Now I know that the old Capitol Rainbow labels, there's some deep grooves, and I've seen some pretty rough copies. Cleaned them, played them, and they sound really nice. Nowadays, and with the Blue Notes too, the deep grooves and the Columbias, the deep grooves. So talk about, like, if somebody's looking at a record at the store and it looks like it's in pretty decent shape, they're a little bit worried about something, but it's a deep groove. Let's go there.
Well, first of all, if something's a little rough, we clean everything before we put them out. But if it's something that's cool but looks a little rough, I'll play it, and check it out.
Just to test it out, make sure it's okay.
Yep. I don't know any other stores that do that. I don't know any other stores that clean everything and we put everything in sleeves. And so, but there are some great deep groove records that have just a wealth of information in the grooves still, and they tend to be really sort of three-dimensional sounding. And I guess there's so much information and there's so much incredible sound that you don't often even notice if they're a little bit beat up.
Let's talk about analog masters of originals and even reissues and digitally remastered pressings.
Yeah, well, first of all, the first thing to realize is, digitally reproduced reissues is kind of a new thing. I mean, anything you find from the 80s probably is still going to be from analog tape. So keep that in mind when you're looking at records, because there's a lot of great records that don't cost a lot of money from the 80s and even some of the early 90s stuff, that were completely analog. And you can buy a lot of this stuff for $10. So, but yeah, that's the reason why they've in the last decade or so been doing so many digital reissues, is because a lot of the source material is gone or worn out, or the other reason would be because it's cheaper and easier to just cut from a digital source. So, like I said before, there's a lot of people sort of sensationalizing this, this vinyl craze, and they're looking to get stuff out there and get it in front of people, and they know that the vast majority of people probably don't know the difference.
Yeah,
So.
the record industry is definitely going to take full advantage of that. And you certainly know that, and it's working. The boom right now that we're in, this vinyl renaissance that we're having here, this revival is something. It's pretty amazing. I mean, over the last 10 years, the record industry, how much has that changed over the last 10 years? Even for business, as far as buying and selling records and things like that.
Well, there's a lot more people looking for them now.
So it's a lot busier.
So the demand is way up, and the supply, as a result, is probably less. So you have to work harder to find the good stuff, and that's what I do. I comb the countryside looking for the best collections, and fortunately I'm in a situation where I've had many record stores in the past, so I have a lot of customers from yesteryear that I sold huge collections to that are now getting ready to either bail on their records, or there's a lot of estate stuff and we get these big collections. But yeah,
your shop is always full. That's
Yeah.
one thing that's wonderful, to walk into the store or to walk into the shop and just see the records everywhere, and
there's never any extra room in the bins.
Is there a genre that you sell the most here?
We sell a lot of classic rock, but we sell a lot of jazz too. I would say that when we get a jazz collection, that probably stirs up the most interest. I mean, that's when we got people waiting at the door for me when I get there in the morning.
And that's nice. That's great for business,
Yeah, well, jazz guys are a different breed. I mean, they're a little bit more devoted to the cause.
That's a good word, devoted.
Yeah. They're willing to do whatever they need to do to find the good stuff, and there just isn't that much good stuff. I mean, how many record stores do you go in and, there's like 20 records in their jazz section. I mean, I've got close to 1,000 records probably in my jazz section.
Yeah, it's nice. A great selection of records at the store. All kinds of records. Everything from movie soundtracks to classic rock to jazz fusion to pop.
Yeah, and I tend
country,
to
folk.
seek out some of the weirder stuff too, like avant-garde and electronica records.
Yep.
I mean, people love that stuff. And that's, I gotta say, a lot of other stores, they don't know enough about that. And I often don't either, but I figure it out as I go. I mean, there's been collections that have been way over my head. And, I do the reading and I figure it out. And I think there's a lot of up and coming genres that people haven't really thought about yet that are gonna, like Windham Hill. I put in that Windham Hill section. Well, we sold a lot of stuff out of there. People are starting to get really interested in that stuff, and those are great pressings. Some of that music is phenomenal. Windham Hills sort of has this new agey vibe, but it's really not.
They had some pretty select guitar players, musicians, and things like that.
Michael
for the Windham Hill
Hedges,
series.
Tuck Andrus, I mean Alex DeGrassi. some of the best fingerstyle guitarists of all time. And then, George Winston, maybe arguably one of the greatest modern pianists, and Liz Story. I mean, it's great music. And again, you can buy that stuff for 10, 15, 20 bucks. Phenomenal pressings, phenomenal covers, and they're never going to reissue that again.
And that's the kind of stuff you'll find in your shop there. The stuff that may not be well known, but it's here. If you're interested in some of the avant-garde stuff, if you're interested in some of the different things that you're never ever going to see at any other record shop, this is the place. Paramount is the place to come.
Yeah, and I really seek out that stuff. I seek out the weird stuff because I'm interested in learning. So if it's stuff I don't know about, then like I said, I do the reading, I do the research, and I find out. And so far, there's always been other people interested. Even the weirdest of the weird. There's always somebody that's looking for everything.
And for the prices, the prices are very reasonable, here at the shop, and it doesn't break the bank to check out something new. You never know what you might come across that you'll like quite a bit.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I keep the prices down. I try to encourage people to stretch a little bit. And I don't sell online at all. So everything we get goes right into the bins. So people know that. People know that every time they walk in the store, there's going to be new stuff. There's going to be a lot of stuff that wasn't there the last time. So
I would imagine there's some pretty loyal customers that walk into the store.
Oh yeah, there's customers that come in every week.
You were just talking about, customers that they're maybe done with their vinyl and stuff, and records you sold them years ago, they're bringing them back in, for you to buy back and then sell again. So that's pretty cool. So that
or their heirs are.
Yeah.
But see, that's part of the fascination of doing what I do is like, I'm taking these threads that somebody spent a lifetime assembling, and then I take them and I put them back out there. And each one of those records starts a new journey for these young people that come in and they're just getting into record collecting.
So, yeah, let's talk about the ages here again. So over the last few years, and since we've had this record revival, how young are some of the customers that come in? And I'm sure the age difference is quite a bit.
Yeah, I get people from 11, 12, 13, 14, all the way up to 80s. And they're side by side, elbow to elbow in the bins. Which is pretty cool. And actually a lot of the really serious, devoted buyers that spend all their money on music are younger people, I can relate to that because I was one of them when I was their age. And I guess it's something we didn't think we'd see again, but it's happening.
I did kind of want to talk about the difference between the same pressing of a colored vinyl and a black vinyl. Some people, what do you think about colored vinyl versus the black vinyl?
It seems like colored vinyl's gotten a lot better. I think the consensus was that black vinyl sounds better, but it seems to me that the colored vinyl's been getting better, and some of it looks pretty cool. So I mean, it gives the collector another sort of angle, because you're not just collecting, that particular record. You're collecting a version of that record that may never come out again.
So you get plenty of the colored vinyl in the store.
Yeah, what I do is I go through lists that my distributors send me, and I try to look for unusual stuff, just like I do with the used stuff. You know, I tend to buy a lot of weird stuff that most stars wouldn't even look at, but you know, with the new stuff, I tend to not buy mainstream stuff. I tend to buy really limited, unusual stuff that I know is going to be gone.